in that is Microsoft Excel. And it is very important for us to know how this is. So, um, just an overview about Microsoft Excel, and I'll be moving directly into the Microsoft Excel workbook now. So, Microsoft Excel, like I said, apologies in case you know this, but it is worthy of staying. So, it's actually a software developed, a spreadsheet software developed by Microsoft. And I mean, the word spreadsheet should bring your mind um, to your normal book. I mean, where you actually enter in data. Imagine how data has been entered in, say, some 1805. So, I mean, data have been gathered at that time, but a software was developed by Microsoft, which is a spreadsheet just for us to actually um, perform a wide range of data analysis and data management. So it has interface which consists of read and cells, and that will be seen in a bit. So, and it also has, I mean, it can be used for data entry, for data manipulation, and also to analyze data. It has several ribbons and tabs, and these ribbons and tabs are there for us to use and actually make some go to manipulate our data and also to do some analysis. And the last point has to be there, because if the last point isn't there, you possibly will be thinking of, oh, maybe this is something very hard to use, or maybe it's a very, I mean, maybe as simple as it looks, maybe it doesn't have as much importance as it should. So it is easy to use with consistent learning. And that takes us to the grade. So that I won't just be boring you with a lot of words. Tonight is not the night of words. All right, so this is what it will look like. We have several ribbons in Excel, and this ribbon actually gives us everything. It is a well-loaded ribbon, and the home tab gives us what we need to perform basic tasks. I see a lot of people on a daily basis finding it very difficult to sum three, I mean, to sum over just three, maybe two cells. And you would think it is very, I mean, very little to achieve. And you see people performing tasks, I mean, very, following a very long route other than just making it a simpler one. Did you know the difference between people who actually follow a very long route and those who actually does it faster? The difference is their understanding of all of this that we have here, from home to inside to page layout to formulas to data to review to view. Forget about developer help. Everybody has help. Forget about data effects. Okay. A lot of people have all of the other ones except for developer and data effects. If you need it, you'll get it. All right. So that aside, all right, so let us get into it. So what will you perform with this home? Okay. I love to be practical, and that's why I say I'll be bringing some data into this. Let me just bring a part of the data that we'll be using later into this. All right, so I just copied this here, okay, so that we can perform some very quick operations on them while still on the home tab. Just imagine something. Okay, so this header was made to stand out by actually making it bold. So, and as simple as this is, people still struggle to find about how should it be done. And you can see it could be achieved in this particular tab. So by just clicking on bold, or you use a shortcut Control B. So I mean, shortcuts will give a list of shortcuts that you can actually use, but I mean, we'll just show you how it is done. But apart from this being done, I mean, clicking bold, if I want to apply this to all of this, and I don't want to have to say select this and click bold, I can actually follow another route and I can use my formatting brush. So format painter, so I can use it to actually format this with the same format that the cell I had actually selected out. But before going into that, do you know the name of your cell? Somebody tell me the name of this cell that I have clicked. So it is actually H9. So that I won't have to interrupt myself. So let me just explain how this. So in Excel, basic thing that we should know is that each cell has a name. And why this is important, you will think it's actually something you can gross about, is when you're working on a data set and someone asks you, maybe on a Teams call, and someone is saying, okay, John, please, can you can we have the average of cell F9 and G9? And you just be wondering, what is this guy talking about? Okay, please sum H2 and D3. And what is it talking about? Where is H2? Where's this three in this? So Excel, every cell in Excel picks its name from the column it falls in and the rows it falls. So it is actually the column is the leading while the row actually comes as the supporting. So it is an alphanumeric name that each of the cells has. So there right before you, you could see that the column are named alphabetically. So they are named alphabetically. So you have it from A to the last, which is XFD, according to my sister. The rows have been named a number from 1 to this much. And if this is right, this is 1,048,576 rows. So that's where they derive their name. So when you now select a cell, and Excel derive the name from the intersection between the column and the row, and having the column to be leading, that is the alphabet coming first, and then the numbers follow. So it picks it from the column it belongs and on which row it is. So now my cursor is on B2 because it is on column 2, I mean column B and row 2. It is on column B and row 2. And that's where that is. So if I have a data set here, okay, now, okay, I don't have numbers here. All right. So and I'm saying, okay, just check if E3 is the same as A11. So if I'm just to do a check, John, please help me check if E3 is same as A11. So I don't have to be puzzled because I already know that to check that, I'll just say, okay, is it the same? And it returns false. No, they are not the same. So, but this is not, I'm not trying to show these conditions now, but I'm just trying to say we call the cell by their name. And so sometimes when you see formulas and you're trying to understand which cell makes up this formula, I mean, which cells are used as argument of this particular formula, there you go, you know now the name. All right. So wiping this off and just going a bit more organized. Okay, we've seen that the cells have their names and the name should be respected by all means, and you must address them by their name. But like me, I love to be called my full name, John Lawal. So the same, you should address these cells by their full name. All right. So please, just a moment. All right, like I said, you have to respect the name of that cell and call it at appropriate. And that will also help you to troubleshoot. Possibly somebody gives you a particular formula to say, okay, please help me with this. If you don't understand this basic, you possibly might not be able to help. And then we move on to the next, which is the insert. And you want me to quickly run through this particular part. Um, so just see what this could do for us. All right, so this is just like your normal Microsoft Excel, and it speaks to the font, and this is where the alignment comes. We'll perform all of these because talking through them will make it very theoretical, and I don't want to be theoretical as much as so. But I would like to draw your attention to this very particular repository. So it is the function library. So you want to make this place your friend as much as you make Google your friend. So you want to come to this place and see, okay, what are the possibilities that exist? So I want to perform something around sums. I want to perform, and at this point, let me pause to tell you that there are five basic summaries that you can actually perform. So five basic summary. So you have several summary, and they goes into as much as you can. So, but five basic summary, and you can see from the drop down that I have on my screen, you have the sum, the average, the count, the maximum, and the minimum. So those are the five basic summaries. So in case you see a data set and you want to perform, you just want to summarize it without looking at you. The first five things that should come to your mind, you want to check what is the maximum of this number. You want to check what is the minimum of this number so as to see the range of the number. You want to check the count. How many are they in all? And what is the average? And you possibly want to see the sum of it. So, and these are the five basic summaries. So in this, you have the logical functions, which speaks to and, false, if error, if not applicable, and if not, or switch to XOR. So you have all of this here, and this is my home because it speaks to math and trigonometry. But trust me, you possibly won't have to use this except you're working on a mathematical project, but never say never. So it's something you want to look at. And this lookup and reference, so we'll be looking at that in a bit. And also the data that I was about bringing you to, yeah. So in Excel, it's quite unfortunate that we think it is just create a Microsoft workbook from, since you have Excel downloaded on your PC, just say new or click on it, and then you open a new sheet, and then you continue to work. There are several repository through which you can get data into Excel, and you can get it from the regular way you've been doing through the workbook. You can get it through a comma separation and separated version. You can get from XML, you can get the JSON, and you can get from SharePoint folder. And when we start working in organization, most organizations are subscribed to Microsoft 365, and a lot of them uses the SharePoint to actually as a repository for their data. And by the time you want to bring data from the repository, you export data, and you can actually link those the SharePoint spreadsheet directly to your Excel. So all you need to do is just get the source and then bring it on. So you can get from Azure. Remember that they belong to the same family because um, Azure is actually one of the web services of Microsoft. So Microsoft Azure as a data warehouse, as a hub for storage, as a relational database which can be queried. Also, you can actually fetch data from it for use in Excel. I mean, I believe a lot of us who are exposed to structured query language, knows that we can fetch data from these repositories, but much more than just into places like Power BI or structured query language we can do that here as well from several sources. We can flow data into this and we can get it online. You could see that we can get it from Facebook, we can get it from Microsoft Dynamic 365, which is one of the tools that Microsoft deployed. So basically from very uncountable sources, and I think I should make that very clearly as much as I could. So importantly, these views. So this is essential for your work. Views is essential for your work because you want to see what you're doing. And I will start from there with a major data set. So let us talk about views as I bring us to another data set that is larger than what we have now. Right before you open database, and this is just to ensure that it isn't our data or we using it for the purpose of this training, and it is open for use. So it's okay. Now, this is getting serious now. And you would think I have just pushed you without without getting you started. Let's assume everything that I've said before now. is just an appetizer. And now I've launched you into the deep, and we are in for a. I mean, if you can't swim, you possibly will drown, but nobody will allow you to drown yet because everyone is here for your safety. All right. So the first thing I want you to look at, what is this data for? Okay, now let me explain myself why I'm asking that question. What is this data for? I'm asking because we won't get into something. And let me reiterate this. Tools don't make a data analyst. A data analyst deploy tool to achieve whatsoever you want to do. A data professional, the tools aren't what made you. It is your domain understanding that makes you. So it is when you understand the domain you are playing in, then you will be able to know what tool to leverage. So we have to understand our data set before we even touch it, except we'll just be doing whatsoever. So now, you will know that there's something called the cart, and I just want to use this to demonstrate a lot of things to you. And keep in mind, some of the things I'll be demonstrating now is entering data into cells, okay, um, formatting data, data types, and then refreshing data. I'll also be demonstrating adding data, deleting data, editing the existing one. I mean, I'll do some sorts and I'll filter, and then we'll do formulas and functions. So these are basically what I'll be doing with this particular data that we have before us. And I reiterate that I'll be doing some data entry. I'll be doing some formatting, that data formatting, changing of font, alignments, border colors, and also I'll explain some data type um, now, and also get you to see how data could actually be refreshed, even though it is on your repository. But sometimes, because when you apply some functions, so you have to refresh your data in case you're not seeing the desired result. So I'll be demonstrating that, and also we'll be doing some add. We'll be adding some data into this. We'll be deleting. We'll be editing. We'll be sorting. We'll be doing some filtering, and I mean applying formula and functions. Yeah, great. So, all right. So the first thing I'm doing now is actually to help you understand and why I said this is in its raw form, and we'll be creating something very quickly. So you'll see all of these first two, the order ID are the same. Why? Because it is a cart. So in that cart, this particular shopper has two things in it, and yeah, we can leverage on the product name and say he has a brush and he has a stacking chair. So um so he has a brush and a stacking chair in a board, not brush now, a board and a stacking chair. That's a bookcase. He has a bookcase and a stacking chair in it. So he bought both at the same time. And the same thing with this particular shopper, he bought this the same thing with this particular. So the other ID helps us to classify what we have. So now we want to demonstrate something. We want to show that, okay, this business we want to check if we are doing well with our timing. All right, great. So I don't know if you would love to actually order something from a, a, a drop shipment company and they end up bringing in after the expected date. So say, for instance, at the point of ordering, they have told you that, oh, in 7 days, this will be available, only for you to wait for 7 weeks and it is not available. You possibly won't like that. And that's why I'll be deleting this just to show you that we can delete in, I'd put it before, but I want to put that again. So I'll just do the delete. So to delete is just right click on any of the column. If you want to delete a column, you right click on the column, that's the alphabet, the column name, and then you click delete. And in a case where you want to use your keyboard, you can just use your back what's it called, backspace to delete entries, or you use your delete button to delete everything that is there. Because by the time you use your backspace, it delete the first row, and when you use um the delete button, it deletes all through. But that's not what we want to do. We want to take out that column entirely. So you can achieve that by right clicking and then you say delete. So we have taken out that. It is good that I have to remove that. So I want to insert a column into this. So by right clicking and then clicking on insert. So I have inserted a column into it. And here I'll be talking about data format. So whenever you insert a column, the column takes the format. It takes the format, it takes everything of the column to its right. And this is what I mean. Now we have inserted column E between column D and column F. So the format that this column E comes with now by default is the format of column F. Right click on this and we can clear the entire content in this. So if we clear the content, it's, I mean, more like using our delete button to move out the whole content. And then I can recall that back with my undo button. And remember, it is not just Control Z that you can use. We have at the top of the workbook, the arrow tilting to the left, which is the undo, and the one tilting to the right, which is the redo. And that should be taken advantage of. And even at this top, you can have the save button here, in case yours isn't there. So you can click on this drop down. That's the customize quick link access toolbar. So you can add more to it. So in case I just want to add that, I should be able to create a new workbook at the top here. So I can just say here. So if I need to create a new workbook, I can just click and then a new workbook will open onto me. And if I want to have the open function, I mean, open here. So maybe I have something and I want to just go and open. So I can from here get into it and then open. All right. So that's it. And you can have as much as possible, but I don't think I need that. All right. Simple is better. So now, okay, I don't need this either. All right. So we're talking about this. No, now. So I was saying, telling you about now we started a column, and now speaking about the format that this column are taken that have just been inserted. So whenever you insert a column into a space, like I said the other time, it takes the formatting of the column to its right. I mean left now. I mean to its left. So now we have inserted um what's it called, a column between D and F. So be sure that the formatting that it will take is the formatting of column D. Yeah, I missed. I called F the other time, and that was why I was expecting the formatting of F. And now it is actually the formatting of D, that is the one to the left. So now I want to demonstrate something. So I want to get the lead time, that is the difference between the ship date and the order date. So I say this equals this minus this. I mean, just direct subtraction. And this is just a formula that has been written. This is not a function, right? This is a formula. But if I had actually put it in, if I had automated this, that all I need to do is just to impute my um, column D and then column C, and then click enter. Then that is a function. So get it now. Somebody might ask you, what is the difference between a formula and a function in Excel? A formula, if it is a formula, then you will add your operators. But if it is a function, you just add the cells that it will be working over. So in this, I just written a formula and then I say enter, and it's giving me 1900. And if I could understand this better from what we have, that is, it is January 3, 1900. So January 3, 1900 isn't what I was looking for. I was just trying to get the difference between the day the order was placed and the date was eventually delivered. And this is how to use Excel, and we have started using it. And like it was said, before you leave here today, you'll have been greatly helped, and trusting God to help us together. Okay, so I call this lead time. All right, yeah, just call it lead time, and that's the time it took them from when I placed the order and when it was shipped to me. So using the ship date as the leading factor, and then the end date, I mean the order date as the one that I'm subtracting from the day it was shipped. But this isn't what I want. This is not what I want. I want it a in a number format. So I want to get it in number of days. That is what is the difference between 8th of November 2016 and then 11th of November 2016. So I want to be able to have that difference. And that was what brings us to this. Then, it is giving me this. And why is it doing this to me? Is because when I inserted the column E between F and D, the column automatically took the form of D. That is, it took the formatting that is contained in column D. All right. So that being said, then I needed to then change the the data type of this particular column. So how do I change the data type of this column? And that's where we have this particular number segment, which is called the number. So without having to pull up all of this, so you can just choose this drop down and see the basics one that is here. We have the general, we have number, we have currency, we have accounting, we have short date, long date, time, percentage, fraction, scientific. So now, what I want is number in no specific format. Like I don't want it to be formatted. Like if I should choose number, it will put it to, I mean, the default two decimal places. But these aren't numbers that I want to get. I'm not getting. There is no way I will get a decimal because there won't be anything like 1.5 day. So the only day where I can get a formula is when it is a date time, and then I am calculating the difference even up to the time, the minute, the hour, the minute, and the seconds. So, but in this case, it is the day that I'm doing my operation over. So I want to put it in the general. So the general, the type, just have it as number. So immediately I have a difference between the day I actually placed the order and when the order was actually delivered to me. But I want to replicate this across board. And I've seen people who will then hold this particular edge of the cell and then drag it across. I mean, please don't do that. If you're a member of this class, don't do that. So what you should do is to actually come to the lower right corner of the cell. The lower right corner of the cell, and at that point, this white um, plus sign, which is my cursor in Excel, will then change to a black um, plus sign. It changes to a black plus sign, and all you need to do to replicate this across board instead of dragging it across is just to double click. When you double click this, it will fill out down, and then if you're going up, control up. That is if there's no break between your data. But if there is break, what it will take you, it takes you to the place where the first break occur. So if I remove 5 from here, I mean, what is here now? I remove what is in E13. So I remove this cell in E13, the content, I clear the content, and then I use my control down. So it will stop at E12. Why? Because there is a space um in E13. So that particular shortcut I told you just now will only take you to the place before the break. So, but if there is no break, if peradventure your data set is continuous, so all up and down. All right, I think that's what about the bottom to be. Imagine having to scroll all the way. Mind you, this data has um 9,994 rows. And some people won't even use this scroll bar. Some won't use this scroll bar, which will help you to scroll faster. Some I've seen and I lie not. some will actually be going one after the other, and they will hold it down. They will long press and coming all the way down. I don't know if life is that hard, but no, it isn't. It is just how to actually make use of it to get the lead time. And what we have actually are concerned, if not that we've been hidden that whenever you insert the column takes the formatting of what is to the right. I said right again. What is to the left of it? That is the cell that is to the left of it. And when we started column E, we got by default being formatted as date. And that was why we're having that January 3rd, 1900. And now when we change it from being general to, from being a date cell to a general date type, then we have it in number. So we can actually play around with some of these. Maybe it will help us. So two decimal places, you can increase the decimal. You can increase it by this button, and you can decrease as well by this button. So let us increase it, and then let us decrease it. You can decrease it to 0. To no decimal place. So for instance, if I want to still use number for this, all I will just do is to ensure that I decrease it to um, no decimal place, because I'm not expecting any decimal. All right. So we can as well make this into a currency, and that's default on my system to US dollars. So we default to US dollars, and we can select other options there. Then have for more, and we can have about 100 naira somewhere here. All right, naira is somewhere around. No, joke. Okay, it is funny. And is somebody seeing anything that is the difference? So in accounting, the and I will demonstrate this to you now. So in currency, all the currency cares about is that the they want to see at a glance the currency symbol. So you see it look like this. So the currency symbols are aligned here, and then the value to the right. The currency symbol aligned. How long this is? This. No matter how long, it will only dictate how far apart the currency symbol and the value will be, but that the value will be aligned to the right, and then the currency symbol aligned to the left. I have people who don't want to use this, especially non-accounting professionals. So if what you're doing is not something that is accounting I mean, that is rigid accounting. So you can just make do with this. But if you want to do something that accountants will have to see, you might want to see it because this appeal to them better than this. To them, this looks clumsy. All right. That or everything just yeah, it is only when you're looking at it line by line that you but this without having to look at it line by line, you get to see everything. So also we can see the date, short date and the long date. This is the short date. Okay, let me call this guy home. So and then we can see also the long date. All right. So this is the long date and also we can see the time for format. You can have this in percentage, and we can have it in fraction, then we can have it in the scientific form, that is raised to power. All right, so these are some of the ways by which, and we still have a lot of them, and we can even do our own custom um, numbers. Okay, we can customize it for our own use. So I have some of my customs here. All right, so you can customize it for your use. All right, so let us just put this back to what it should be and then run our formulas through again so that I correct everything. And now, so the alignment now. So this is the alignment tab where you align your. So this isn't looking good right aligned for me because I want them to be able to see it. So I prefer something that will keep it in the center. So it is not just slipping on the right or slipping on the left, which you can do by just moving it this way to the left or this way to the right and this to the center. Also, this at the top speaks to where you want the data to be. As this is talking about the positioning, this is talking about how do you want it placed in the cell? So um, there is the um, vertical alignment and there is the horizontal alignment. Okay. So now let me make this big so that you can see what I mean by the horizontal and vertical alignment. This here addresses the horizontal alignment. And when you say horizontal alignment, it is across the row, that is left to right. So now this take care of the horizontal alignment. All right. So is either it is on the left horizontally or it is on the center or uh, on the right. But this takes care of the vertical alignment. Is either is at the top, in the center, or is below. So this is up down. So if and you sometimes have to use a combination of these two to achieve the position you want to keep your data. I want to keep it in the center vertically. I also want to keep it in the center horizontally such that my data will be at the center of the page. And that is not what this is like. This is just kept at the right. So if we expand this cell, you will see that this is kept below no horizontal alignment. So that's why you see that it is not here. It is kept below no horizontal alignment at all. So if we give it, say for instance, maybe right horizontal alignment, you see it comes to the right here, or we say left horizontal alignment so that it is left left, or we move it to the center. So and we can just unselect it. All right. So that is that about the alignment. All right. So now I mentioned earlier about the 5 basic summary. So let us quickly perform those 5 basic summary on these values that we have. So we have the sales, the quantity, the discount, and the average. So coming to the end of this, all right. All right. So wait, let me quickly do this before. Now I am on the I am here and I want to be seeing the start of this table. So I want to work here, but possibly I want to make reference to this column. Um, say for instance, okay, let's say I want to make reference to this lead time that we have just generated. Let's assume it makes a lot of sense to us, as in it is very important that we are looking at it as we work. So, and we want to be, we want to have it just in clear sight, and also we want to work here. So, how do we achieve both at the same time? I want to perform tasks on these last four columns, and I still want to be seeing this. And I don't, one of the ways to achieve that is just to come here and reduce this, at least to achieve it, right? But my lens must be cylindrical lens for me to continue working like this. And let me make it very clear. I can work like this. I can see it. You see, my sight rating is 10/10. All right. But how long will I do this and then destroy that 10/10 and make it become 0/10? So I won't want to do this. All right. All right. So I won't want to do this. So I want to put it at maybe a 80, or if not even 100, and work there. But there is a way I can achieve this that I won't actually spoil my site, and I'll still have what I want. So if it is only the lead time that makes sense to me, and I don't want to, that I want to see. So two ways I can do it. I can just have this like this, have only the lead time showing on the left, and then I'll come to my view, and that's where the view is very important. So, and I can freeze the pane, right? So I can freeze my pane and say, okay, freeze this pane, and I'll say, so there are several options. The first option that I would love to say, forget about this first option. Yeah, let's make this free stop row the first option. So this is the first option. We say free stop row. So if I should apply this free stop row, just like the name implies, the top row is frozen. All right. So the other time before freezing this top row, whenever I move from top to bottom, I will lose the table header. Now, I don't even know what this is. What is the name on this particular header? I don't know. What is this number? Now I'm looking at it from from the table that's below the table. What is this number? I can't even tell what the header is. So what I will end up doing is move up. Oh, this is postal code. Come down, and when I have issue with this one as well, move up. Oh, this is category. But there is a way you can achieve that. All right. Now let me do it here at on this view. So if I should freeze pin here and I say free stop row, automatically you will expect that row number one should be frozen. But no, row number one won't be frozen in this case. And that's because the top row that my screen can see now is row um 9974. So if I say free stop row, oh, okay, no, it froze it on the place where I placed my cursor. So sorry. Yeah, and that's just it. So I thought my cursor was here. So if I say free stop row, okay, free stop row. So the fact that it says free top row does not mean it will freeze row number one, right? It's saying that freeze the row that is above my selected cell. Freeze the row. And that is to being cautious of where you put the cell you select when you are freezing the top row. I'm very sure you have entered into a document, and I lie not, someone showed me a document like this today, where he is unable to see. If you look at the function bar, the formula bar, you will see that it is moving. Can you see that it is moving up and up and up? But the screen is not moving. It is not because my screen, my internet is lagging, but it's because I have frozen my display to this particular top row. So this has now become my top row because I have given that instruction. So you have to be careful when freezing top row to be sure that you are freezing it appropriately. All right. So I've unfrozen it. So now let's get to the top row because sometimes when we teach these things, we just say freeze top row and we come here, we select here and we freeze top row and people think, oh, that is how it works. No, it reference where your cell that you select is. So if I select here, just like I explained earlier, and I say freeze top row, so it has frozen, no, freeze, let's say freeze top row. Okay, so now it works differently in the sense that I have selected, I am close to the top, but let me just hide this and then do the same thing, selecting the same cell, and that's what I like to explain. So because some people find it very clumsy to apply this and say, it is not working, it's distorting my data. If the top is showing, and that was why I went down to perform it at the base. If the top is showing, that is the top row number one is showing. If you select any cell and you say freeze top row, it will still recognize the top row. But immediately the top row is not showing. And let me just demonstrate that by just scrolling gently just to have only the top row away. So the top row is away now, is not in view. So you will see that the top row is just a scroll away. If I just do this, but all I need to do is just to ensure that it is not showing on my display. So now if I click here, that is cell M16 and say free stop row, it takes cell M16 as my top row. Okay. So now I have unfrozen. So you have to be careful where you place your cursor while freezing. All right. You have to be careful where you place your cursor while freezing. So because that will make a whole lot of difference in when you are freezing. It will make a whole lot of difference while you are freezing. Okay. So all right. So what I want to do is just to freeze. So we don't just want to freeze first row or we freeze first column. So um we want to freeze by referencing. So now I want to freeze referencing this. So if I choose just freeze pane, not minding freeze column or freeze top row or freeze top column. So I want to fill by whatsoever is above my selected cell. So that's how freeze pane works. So it freezes whatsoever, sorry, okay, are there right. Oh, sorry. I don't know, messages were dropping. Sorry. Okay. All right. So now you want to just freeze and reference. So you want everything above and to the left be frozen. So that's when we use this freeze pane. So freeze pane actually work in a way. Okay. So now let me just complete this and you get it. So if you want to freeze and just get how it works. And everything here get how it works. So because you won't be faced with this same problem every day, you will have several one to be faced. But once you know the fundamentals, so it is there, you will see how people are using just some if or some ifs to actually do a lot of things. You'll just be wondering how these are all that I know to do, but possibly you understand it as being very narrow, and you don't understand the fundamentals. So let us just understand the fundamental and how some of these things works. So if we use this symbol, I mean the option calls free spin. So, and only the good thing about Excel is that it gives you explanation. Excel doesn't leave you in a dark, and that I will emphasize more when we start writing um using functions now. So the freeze pane option, it freezes the row above and that which is to the left. Okay, it freezes the row above, the selected cell, and the row to the left. So what do I mean? So if I put my cell cursor here and I say, let me put it here so that we can understand. So, and I say free spin. So it has frozen everything above it and everything to its left. So so I can scroll this way and this remain constant. Everything to its left remain constant. And I can scroll downwards and everything above it remain constant. So that is actually the function. So instead of even using um, free spin sometimes, I mean free stop row or free stop column. So what we can do is this. So I will use free spin to achieve free stop row. So all I need to do is just to select from the row like this. So if I select the row this way, what I have invited or what I have invoked when I say free spin is that free stop rows. So I have frozen the top rows this way. And if I want to achieve freeze first column, all I need to do is just to select this and go here and say freeze pane. And by this I have achieved freezing top. Um, I have achieved. All right. And that's just it. So now let's get into this this summary, the basic summaries that we have here. We have a lot to do tonight, and it seems I am spending more time on this one. Okay, so we can just get some things moving so that, and I won't rush it. Don't. So it is essential that we touch some very basic thing because it will turn up. I mean, it will turn out to be um, some of the things that we issue in the place of work. And trust me, you will get the next few things that I'm about to explain. And we have actually laid a very good foundation. So, so like mentioned earlier, the five basic summaries, so we'll be performing it. Now, we have this sales data. Once we see it, the first thing that comes to mind is, wow, let's perform these five basic summaries on it. So on this particular tab in the home ribbon, so we have in the editing, it is called editing. Sincerely, I don't know for what reason editing is the best name for this tab, but I tell you, that is where the five basic summaries, the repository for the five basic summary. So the first of all is sum. All right. So so another thing you want to do is to always name what you're doing. So sum, and we'll be using, okay, it is already formatted. All right. Don't mind this. So we have the sum. We can follow it by the average. We can follow it by the count, followed by maximum and the minimum. All right. To perform these tasks, if we want to go by this, which we should, is just to pull up this drop down and say sum, and then just hit enter. So, but be careful because Excel is smart. It has selected for you everything that it believes is within the range you want to sum. But anytime you do sum, be sure that it's actually selected everything, because something might happen and there might be a break in your data, excuse me, and some will not select over it. So let's say, for instance, if there's a break here, if there's a break in this particular cell, all right, and we say it should sum, you could see that it limits itself to those before the break. And the break, I had shown earlier, the break might have occurred in between the cell that you don't know, but because you are down here as well. So it's very good that you check if your cell is complete. One of the ways to check, and that was why I spent more time about the cell name. So one of the ways to check is that the function here is the sum function, and it's saying that the two arguments. So good enough. I'll say this, I said it before, but you possibly didn't pay attention to it, and I'm saying it again, and you will know you did not pay attention to it now. Everything in Excel has its rule, and it is always before you. Now, this is the sum function, and we call it up in several means. So I had called it up from this particular place, and you can also call it up by just having your equal sign, and then you put your sum and you tab. So by the time you tab, it will ask you, "Oh John, I am at your service, but provide me the first number that you want to sum." I'll say, "This is the first number." "Provide me the second number." I'll say, "This is the second number," by holding the control key. You say, "Give me the third number. Give me the fourth number. Give me the fifth number. Give me the what's it called? The sixth number." So, and we continue to give it. You could see that it is asking now. Why it wasn't, why it didn't show that way, but let me do it the way as I am selecting it to be showing. So now I've provided it the first number. Is asking me, "Give me the second number." I provided the second number. I say, "Give me the third number." Immediately I put a comma, which satisfy what separates a an entry from the other. So I put a comma, it asks for the fourth number. I put a comma, it asks for the fifth number. Why am I saying this? You'll get to know shortly that every function in Excel has an expectation. And once you meet the expectation of the function, believe me, the function will meet your expectation. So now is that, "Please provide me one after the other." Okay, provide me one, provide me two. But there is a way you can indicate a range by using a semicolon. So we say it is over the range of this to this. So that semicolon indicate that to, so it is, and um, it is something that is very easy, but if we don't understand it, 9995. All right. So it's still there. So we need to understand that the first, which is still two, is what extend. And without even having to write the name, we can also do something like this, and we can just go all the way up. All right. So, but like I said, you don't have to do this. Don't be caught doing this in the office. They will ask you, "Where did you learn your Excel from?" And you will say it's tech in transit, and the CEO will not be pleased. So, and that's why I'm saying, know your cell name. Know your cell name. Is it that you use this, which select it, provided there are no breaks along the line, and for you to know if you select it all the way, know what the cell name of, the topmost cell name and the last cell name, so that you know that it has captured it. So for this, it captured it. So I don't need to do anything on this. I'll just drag it across. So this is a way to also do things. So I don't need to come here and be doing sum again. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. All right. I don't come here to be doing sum again, but there is something you will have to do. You have to change the format of this particular number. So this is quantity. This should not be in accounting format as it is now. This is also discount. This should not be you should not have a currency symbol in front of it. So the easy thing to do after dragging your formula across, just like I did. So what it does is that Excel is very intuitive. So because I have summed T2 to T9995, so by the time I drag it across, it will not bring T2 to this place. It will use something that is called um relational filling. So it relates it. Oh, if what I am dragging is T, then the next is U. That means this guy wants me to use U2 to U9995, and the same thing with V, and the same thing with um W as well. But notice that because I dragged it across, it has taken the format of this. Yeah, it is correct for this, it is correct for this because they are in the same format, even though this data does not have format here. And we can apply the same format to the whole of this. All right. So we can apply this format to the whole of this, and then we change the format of the header, and so we can then apply this format. So I'm using the format brush instead of having to come start setting it. Just take the one that is in the format that you want, and you take the format painter to format. So please don't always go and reinvent the wheel. And so that being said, all right. So then I just pick this and I use it to format this. All right. So, but because this is percentage and for whatsoever reason this has not been put in that particular percentage, so I mean particular format, then you might want to first format this or format everything altogether to be in the right yeah. Okay, so this is where I have issue with summing percentage. All right, so by the time we sum all of this, it comes up to 156,909 percentage of what? So that's where summing percentage you have to be very careful, except when it is needed. But in this case, there won't be a need for it because why are you summing? Except if you just want to take it over um the because it could be misleading when used. But this is just to demonstrate what's it called um, filling without having to do anything. So for average as well, so we can call the same thing in average and say average of this. So you could see that it is adding 9,000 T 9,996 to it. You can just limit it to what you need, and that is what you want. So do the same thing, apply the filters here, and the same thing here, apply the filters. So, so now it makes sense now that the average percentage discount that has been given across board is 16%. That makes a very good sense than this 156,106. So what I'm saying is that when you want to get a summary, you have to watch out for what summary is good for a particular data set. So for discount now, I would rather want to have the average discount than to be having the sum of discount, and it's based on what you want to use it for. So count the numbers. So the same thing, you limit it to that 5 where the data ends, and then you can drag it across, and then you know it should have the same. So for count now, so even for this which is in dollar, which is in, so none of them should be in US dollars. So because it is count, so you can just have it in general, all right? Or you have it as a comma separated number so that you can see um the what's it called? You can see the separation. So you don't have to think without before knowing, and then you reduce the um the decimal place. Okay. So and then by default you can get the maximum. All right. So I'm writing it instead of calling it direct. So maximum, then say T2 um to this. All right. So T2 to that. So and that gives us what we want. So and that's the maximum across. So wow. So we have discount that is as much as 80%. Oh, that must be a very good one. So that's how to just get it. And the same way we apply for the minimum, what's it called, the minimum. So the minimum, just like we did for the maximum, we can then write it out. Say mean. So one good thing is once you start typing, even something that you don't know, and like I said earlier, Google is your friend, but even Excel is a better friend. So once you want to perform a task and you just what function should be able to perform this task, and you just could find a function that can do it. Just think about that function and put what the first name is. I mean the first alphabet of that function. You will see a lot of function. And let's assume I don't know that it's minimum and I just felt it should be minimum. I can come search it. Oh, I might think, oh, maybe it's minimum written in full. And there's nothing like minimum written in full. Okay, but there is mini. Let me see what mini does. And you can use the help function as well to actually get what each of these things does. So for this, yeah, hello. I'm very sure you're not tired already.
Your network went bad.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, well, well. This is serious, man.
But
All
that
right,
was
so
after the min and max, so I think
um,
we're not far away.
okay. Oh, network isn't helping, man. All right, we'll do better. Oh, apologies. I'm very sorry. Okay, so now we've gotten all of these, and then we'll move on to the next. And the next that we'll be moving on, we want to populate something. So, and I'll show you very quickly what we can do with some of these functions. All right. So let us quickly move over, and I will create a new um, sheet here, and I will call it if. All right. So I'll create this is a worksheet. All right. So maybe I should mention this. It should have been a part of the introduction, where this whole sheet. I mean, this whole spreadsheet as the TNT dashboard ifs that I have here. It's called a workbook. Is the workbook. But each of these they are worksheet. Okay. This is a worksheet. This is a worksheet. This is a worksheet. This is a worksheet. All right. So all of these are worksheet that you can actually have in a workbook. So it is the same thing as your book operates. So after what you have, the natural thing you have as a book. So you have a book, but in the book you have sheets. So this is a sheet in this particular workbook. All right. So now let us do something. At this point, I want to demonstrate some of the functions to us, and that is um, the what's it called? The conditional functions and we use that to bring in to populate some things, and it gets very interesting. All right, so the first even at this place, um, I can use the customer ID. All right. So let's create a scenario. We want to we want to populate a sheet where um, to see what the customer, each of the customers sales. We want to see what quantity of, I mean, what amount of sales this customer had actually contributed to our total sales. We want to see what quantity, yeah, this person has purchased. I want to see the average discount this person has gotten and the total profit we have made doing business with this particular customer. So let's bring our ID. All right, so let's bring it into this particular cell. All right, remember we created a worksheet that we name ifs. Um, what's okay? I'm coming here. So the same thing we have here, we can just populate there. All right. So VLOOKUP should be for next week. So I won't touch it now. Let me prepare the table for the ifs. Okay. Now, all right, good. So at this point, we want to populate this. But before we even do all of this, okay, this. Before we do all of this, we want to remove duplicate. Like I said, all of this, because it was ordered at the same time. Remember let me bring in the order ID so that you can understand why this is okay. So the order ID, why we have this duplicated customer IDs because of the order ID. Like I said, you must understand your data before you do anything on it. So now I'm taking this away. So we want to remove duplicate. So this is another very important thing that you should know, and it's essential for clean data. I said the data is in its raw form. So one of the ways to clean up your data is actually to remove duplicate when it is not needed. Excuse me, duplicate are needed here because this is the raw data. Don't remove duplicate anyhow in the raw data. So, but you can, because you want to perform an operation on this, we don't need duplicate here. So we can remove duplicate. So we're in home, so you just come to data, and this is the symbol. This is the symbol for removing duplicates in case, because not all laptop have it written. Mine is, I mean, I have a very small laptop, so, and that's why you won't have the description written, but I mean, you should also learn the signs, okay? So, so it says, okay, yes, remove duplicate. So, and it gives me the report that 9,205 duplicates value found and removed, and we have 700 and we are not the total purchases of this customer because it is the customer purchases that translate to sales for the organization. Now you are thinking like that person is working in a sales organization. So we want to see the total purchases of this particular contract supplier, I said supplier, customer that now translate into sales for us. So the function we'll be using is sum. We did sum the other time, but if we want to apply sum here, all right, we want to apply sum here. Do you know what we have to do? We now have to go to raw data, and then we now be looking. What's it? This is CG 12 at it that. So we're now looking at it and say, okay, these two are GC, and we'll now come here and say, okay, or say sum this. And trust me, this is not just the two time that this person purchased item from the store. It is only that he purchased on this day. If we do a filter by this number, we possibly will have some more things. So that means for us to achieve the total purchases of this particular customer, we need to then look through the system one after the other, but we don't have that time. Or some people will come, I mean, very smart, but I mean, they will filter by, say, that particular customer name, I mean, customer ID, let me get it and say, yeah, let's filter by it. And so we have filtered it. Okay. So just thought filter by explanation. So we are filtered by this. We discover that it has four. So some people might want to do this and say, okay, let me just come here and use some. Since it was some, they taught us. So I will just come here and use some gently, and then I say okay, and then I will say come here again, copy this, and come over to this place, and then again was the customer and don't do this. Don't allow the CEO of Tech in Transit to know that you will ever do this if you ever want to do it. But I won't do it. So I mean that is just not the way to go. Okay. So the way to go is actually what we're about to demonstrate. All right. So that's why it has a functional conditional sum. So it says sum if. Imagine sum if, that is it is a condition. So that is there is um a, a, a range to be summed, also a criteria to be met. All right, a range to be summed and a criteria to be met. So first, understand what the arguments are. So before us here, we have for some ifs to work, we must have the following. We must have the range, we must have the criteria, and we must have the sum range. So the first range that you see is not the sum range. And I am happy that Excel actually differentiate between the two by saying one is range and the other one is sum range. So to explain this, that the first range, and that is the first argument you are providing, is the range in which your criteria is contained, and I will explain. So now you want to sum with a criteria. So you need to specify your criteria, and before specifying your criteria, you must select the range in which the criteria is contained. The criteria is the same thing as the condition you are using to search. So now this is the range where our criteria is contained because our criteria is the customer ID. And I'll tell you something about the best criteria or the best condition to use. So if you want to actually do a conditional do a conditional um, sums, or you want to perform anything that you need a reference, please the best you should use are ID, unique identifiers. So look for unique identifier because, for instance, now if I should bring the customer name here, there might be two customers bearing the same name. On this call, I had seen somebody with JL initial. So if we had used initial for this sorting, we possibly would have missed it. But we are sure that with the customer ID, it is a unique identifier. So we can be sure that we are not mixing things up. So now this is the range in which our criteria is contained, because the customer ID is the criteria we want to use. So now you won't be selecting the range from this particular table. You will go to the range in which your criteria is contained on the raw data, because these are your criteria. All right. So we go over to the raw data and we select the criteria. All right. This was the customer ID. Okay. So this is the range where our criteria is contained in the raw data, in the larger data. And then the next thing is asking us about our criteria. So we go and we say, this is our criteria, all right? And when we say, it's now asking us, where is the sum range? And so all of these, you can actually seek help. So you can seek help on each of these. So if you need help on it, by the time you click it, it will provide an explanation for you. I believe it should have, no, why is my help not coming up? All right, so let me pull it again. Some if I'd I'd clicked outside the cell and I'd press escape a mistake. Alright, the criteria and then the summary. So now it is sales we want to check. So our sum range is we will say we should sum this. So we say okay, and then we have this. So we don't need to do for the whole 700 and something row. We just double click the same way we have seen before. The same thing we do for quantity, and I will be going very fast on this because I spent time. What is our range again? Our range is the um, customer ID on the, because that's where our criteria is contained. So you choose your range by where your criteria is contained, and then you select your criteria and you then go, we're talking about quantity now. You go to the sum range. So I want to sum, once that criteria is met, that is, if, okay, let me explain it now so that it shouldn't just be range, sum range. So what this sum range, all of this mean is that if the criteria is found in the range that has been selected, then sum this. So that's what happens. So if the criteria, that is the second argument, is found, then sum every occurrence of it. So sum, that is sum the quantity column for every time um, the the range is equal, I mean the criteria is equal to the entry in the range. So that's how it works. So for this discount, I mentioned the issue I have about summing discount. So we'll be using average if. So for you to know that there is average if as well. So we perform averages. Remember to always put your equal sign, and then we have the average if. Yeah, so the same thing, the only thing that it will be performing average here. So you go over and you just select your range, and then you come over and then you do your criteria and go over to the average column to say this is your sum range, okay, the discount column, and say this is your sum range, and then you apply it across board. All right, and let's format this as percentage. Okay, so the same thing we will do for profit, and profit will also still use sum if. All right, we use sum if, which is the same thing, selecting the range, that is the range where our criteria is contained in, and then we select the criteria. Okay, this is our criteria, like that. And then we go over to the profit column, and then say okay. So with this, we've been able to move from, and we've been able to organize our data in a way that we want to use it. So why is it more usable now? Because we are seeing, this is a summarized view of this data. These are entries, but we now have a summarized view of this particular data using functions in Excel. With this, you can get into a meeting and you can then present that, oh, these are top best um, what's it called, supplier. So one of the ways you can do this, even without using some of the tools that we'll be learning maybe next week now. So you can then employ your filter. So come to data and you can use filter here. So but there's the shortcut which you can also use. So just select your first row, the first row, and do Control Shift L, and that will give you this the drop down for your filter. Or instead of just priming Control Shift L, so you can just come up here into the data tab, and then in the filter, so pick the funnel and you have your filter, your data filter. So if you want to then do your sorting, all right. So now it's sort and filter. So if you want to do your sorting to largest to smallest, so with this you can have um, the largest to smallest. So you can just cut off, oh, these are the five um, top customer, they've contributed the most to the sales. And this brings us to a point where we can apply as well conditional formatting on our data. And very quickly, we'll be applying it to this. So let's select this cell and come to home on and star. So under star, we can say, okay, let's see, um, conditional formatting, and let's see, let's use color scales, and we just want to see from good to bad. Yeah. So good to bad, the greens are good. No. So now it is reverse that we've just picked. So the red are good here, but I mean naturally we want to pick the one that says the green are good and the okay. Yeah. So that means we have no, this is still not this is still prioritizing red. Okay. Okay, now the green the larger one is being prioritized now. Okay. Oh, okay, okay. So you see that something is happening, that the data filtering is actually the more I filter, the more it stands as where it is. You know why? Because the formula is there. So by the time you perform some tasks, be sure that you clear your formula before you start doing your filtering and the likes. So even the same thing will affect VLOOKUP and I think most especially these sum ifs. So let me undo to the point where we have our formulas in place so that I'll quickly clear before we start this. All right. So this is a safe place to start from. So to clear everything, the formula in this cell after except you just want to leave it there for reference, but most of the time, if you still want to do additional thing on them, after using your formula to populate the table, just to control and paste and then paste them as value. So paste as value will help you to be able to have your data. And so now we can easily sort from largest to lowest. So with this, we are able to sort from largest to lowest. And that was why it seems our conditional formatting wasn't working, because I was expecting that since we have already filtered from largest to lowest, we should have, yeah, we should have green at the top, and then it should be turning red as it go down. So from green to amber, then to red. All right. So that is what we have. So, and also we can immediately want to create a chart that we just want people to know, even without having, okay, let's get back to what we, uh, okay, no, let's just talk about something else. These numbers, yes, let's talk about something else. So now you can insert a chart in this particular one. So, and there are several ways by which we can achieve that. So, there is one very funny way that we can do it, and one is okay. Okay, so at this point, let me just take this and we end. So I will be postponing the chat to some other time because my time is up. So sorry for keeping you waiting. It is just like we should continue on this forever. But we have actually done some if we've used the if function, but there are cases where you have just more than one condition to fulfill. and I'm not sure this is information overload. Oh Jesus. So uh and that was why I said drink water before we get into this. Okay. So if we have not settled ifs, I mean if I should do ifs now, there will be problem. If I should do ifs now, there will be problem. But this is what I will do. I will do it, and that is for you to now go and read about it, try it out before the next class. And I will yield the plea that we should touch on it the next class. So we'll be starting the class from there. But let me just try it out so at least you have seen it done for the first time before you try your hand on it. And that's what we'll be encouraging on this class. Anything we do in class, no matter how clumsy it looks, please go try your hand on it. You know, remember the last point that was mentioned on the slide I shared, that it is a very easy tool to learn if you are consistent with it. So let me just close on this note. I will just do one sum if for you. So now we want in a particular segment because we have segments here, okay? We have segments here. So how do you pull that up? So let me not overload again. So we start from ifs, then we'll move to ifs next. And I want to be sure that you would have completed your personal homework at that time. So please read this up. And at this point, I would like to just draw the curtain.